Good day, everybody, and thank you so much for joining the episode 12 with Bianca Koyabe, who I'm very pleased to have here today. Bianca is an entrepreneur, content creator, model, influencer, like such an inspiration, right? And I think I'm really, really privileged, Bianca, to have you on the show. Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really, really excited about this.
No, awesome. Thank you so much for coming on to the show. And I think we're going to have an awesome conversation this morning. When we're recording right now, it's a crispy morning in Johannesburg. It's just after
Yes.
10. So yeah, quite keen to start the day off right. And I think really excited to dive in. So Bianca, what we usually do, typically to start off, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where you're from, who you are, what you do
Mhm.
currently, as well as what you're passionate about as well.
Well, I was born in Namibia.
Mm,
My parents are Kenyan, and I grew up here in South Africa. So my background is quite diverse, which I never really used to connect to or understand as I was growing up.
mm,
But now, as I'm older, I just want to go back to my roots. And I mean, I haven't been to Namibia since I was 2. That's when we left. So, I want to make a road trip there and like just go and actually see where I'm like from, technically, like where I was born.
yeah.
Yeah, and I am a model, and I also do photography. I'm also like a model coach. I do a lot. I do social media management,
Mm,
um, and I'd say that the main things or the main ways I make my income, because that's what people really want to know. Like, how do you make money? How are you
exactly.
surviving?
Yeah.
Is through the modeling industry.
Mm,
I've been modeling for, this is my 9th year now. Excuse me. This is my
mm,
9th year of modeling. And also just through brand deals. So brands will approach me and they'll ask me to create content for them.
mm,
So yeah, I'm also a content creator. And yeah, it's just a lot of fun. Like, I've just always been a creative. I've always loved art. I took art in school. I've always loved expressing myself
mm,
visually. So I think growing up though, I wasn't sure how I was gonna make a career out of it though. But I
yeah.
just kind of followed what my heart was speaking, and I just believed. I didn't really know. I didn't have a plan, but I was like, I like this, and I enjoy it. And I've been able to build just a really good, sustainable career.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we're going to dive a little bit into your career in just a second, but before we do that, let's get to know you a little bit better. So what is it? What's your daily routine? I mean, what's your typical sort of day right now as we're recording this? South Africa is in level 3 lockdown at the moment.
Yeah.
Just a little bit about your daily routine right now. What's a typical day in your life?
Well, because I'm literally always on standby, my days are never the same.
Mm,
However, what I've had to do is train myself to wake up earlier so that I can get a bit of a routine in. So I'll wake up and then I'll probably journal, like drink a nice cup of tea, sit outside and just have like quiet time when there's no noise, where I can just be with my thoughts.
yeah.
After that, I'll work out for about sometimes 30 minutes, sometimes an hour, depending on how I'm feeling.
Mm,
Um, and then after that, I'll kind of map out what I'm going to get done for the day. If I need to run any errands, if I need to do some admin, if I have to film a video.
mm,
So the night before, though, I would have prepared my to-do list. And then I look through my to-do list and I basically just get started. I'll do like basic chores around the house.
mm.
And yeah, then the day just carries on from there. Things pop up. I have to run here, run there. It's always different all the time.
Yeah, I really love that. I mean, it sounds like you have a really sort of powerful start to the day, which I think is so important, and I really do love that. Are you a morning person, originally, or have you sort of
You
had to
know
become?
what? Let me be honest. No, like, I love my sleep so much. Like, listen, I've had to train, as I said, I had to train myself. So, well, let me
Mm,
just be honest. Beginning of lockdown, my sleep patterns were like whoa, it was so bad. I was sleeping at like 4 a.m., waking up at like 2 p.m. Like it was so bad. But I think, I was just adjusting to the pandemic. I mean, it is a pandemic, so it is what it is. But yeah, I've over the years, I've trained myself to wake up a bit earlier. And I must say that I've made myself a morning person. So I will be excited for the day. I'll kind of be like, okay, well, I'm up already. Let me just have that positive energy and like get going instead of being grumpy and like walking around the house like this. You'd rather just be open to any opportunities that may arise, because really, if you have that energy, then those things will come.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, I guess I am a morning person, forcefully a morning person.
You've evolved into a morning person.
mm, mm,
that's
yeah,
that's interesting, right? And so diving a little bit into your career, and I know that your career is multifaceted, which is, I think, thoroughly inspirational, because I think, we really have to sort of expand our idea of what a career is. A
yeah,
career can be multifaceted, and a career doesn't necessarily have to be in one thing, right? You can sort of have a multifaceted career, a multi-pronged approach. But one of the questions that we had from the Q&A, specifically about your careers, so currently, how, like, has lockdown affected your motivation to create content?
I would say no, actually. I've
Mm,
gotten a lot more motivation because I've had a lot more time to execute the ideas that are in my head. As a
yeah,
creative, you always have ideas. Like, I'm always writing down things. I'll wake up at like 3 a.m. with this idea and I have to write it down so I don't forget it. But before lockdown, I just didn't have time. I was always running around and have to be here and there, and I don't have time to execute the other ideas that I have in my head. So it's healthy. The beginning, I will, like I said, my sleep patterns were really out of whack, so that did affect my motivation and my productivity. But now I'm in a much better space, and I kind of was just like, well, it's gonna be like this for a while, so I needed to snap out of it. I have that where I go through, like, you'll go through a bit of a slump, and I'll just wake up one day and be like, okay, no, let's get back on track. So
yeah,
it's given me a lot of time to create and to just really, try new things as well. Things that I've always wanted to do that I haven't had the chance to do. And
yeah,
so, yeah, I'd say that in a lot of ways, I'm grateful for the lockdown because it's helped with my motivation. It's helped me to have a good routine, because I kind of can map out my day. Whereas when things are normal, my agent can call me and be like, hey, you have to be here in an hour, and I'm like, oh
yeah.
no, but I'm here. And it's
Mm,
really all the time I'm like so frazzled, and
mm.
it's this time has helped me to actually be more productive.
That's really awesome. I think it's probably taken a lot of focus to get there, and a lot
Yeah,
of motivation to actually get into that state of mind. So let's talk a little bit about being an influencer. And
mm-hmm.
you are an influencer yourself, and I think this is something which is viewed by some in a positive light and by some not in a positive light, right? And I think I allude to something which I actually saw on your story the other day. You shared a post about is it easy to become an influencer, and
Yeah,
there's thoughts that you can just create an Instagram account and promote, I don't know, fresh pack rooibos tea,
yeah,
and
yeah.
then you're already an influencer. um
Mm.
but what I want to actually ask you is another question that came from the Q&A, which is, what is the least enjoyable part of being an influencer?
I would say, okay, I'm a typical type A personality, so I don't see, like, when there's a negative, I'm like, how can I make this a positive, So
Yeah,
I would say just that period of time when you're, let's say, between brand deals. So
yeah,
let's say last month I would have gotten a big brand deal, this month nothing, and maybe next month there's another brand deal. So it's just that gap, that in between gap of like, okay, let me just still create some content and do like what I love,
Yeah.
and just put it out there, and hopefully that will turn into something else.
Yeah.
So those times are quite difficult, because it's like you kind of creating, but you don't know what like you're creating for. And that's when you have to bring it back to, like, why are you doing this?
Mm.
Are you really passionate about it? Do you really love it? So yeah, those quiet times when you're waiting, for an email, like, hey, we want to collaborate with you on
Yeah.
this, are you keen? You're waiting for those emails. But just the way that I overcome those times is by constantly creating, because you can't only create when you have a brand deal. You need to always be creating and
Mm.
putting yourself out there.
Mm.
And then also just approaching brands myself.
Yeah.
So sitting around and waiting, I mean, you can wait forever. So,
Yeah.
just those in between times, yeah, they're quite difficult. But
Mm.
knowing me and how I am, I'm always like, how can I combat this? How can I, overcome this? How can we turn this into a positive?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if you're not like strong-willed, it can make you feel discouraged. So
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
you know you have to just be able to push through even when it seems like nothing's happening, because people are always watching.
So tell me a little bit about, so what influences you to promote a product? So what is it that you would you know let you say, okay, cool, I will promote this. Obviously, there has to be a financial incentive for you. But what is it that actually does influence you to actually say, yes, okay, cool, I will align with this? And how does it sort
I
of link
think
to your brand?
mhm. In the beginning, when you're trying to book a brand deal,
Mm.
not to say that I went for everything, but there were a lot of things that I was like, oh wow, they want to pay me and they were going to send me stuff. Okay, cool, let me do it. So I would say in the beginning, it was a lot like, the money incentive. But
Yeah.
still, I would see, like, can I see myself using this product? Like, do I like what they're about? So that was still there, because I've always been about authenticity.
Yeah.
But I think now, after doing this, I mean, I think I've been doing this, like the influencer stuff, probably since 2013.
Yeah.
That's when I got my first like thing.
Mm.
So now it's more so, do our brands align?
Yeah.
I also do a bit of research on the brand. How do they treat their customers? What are people saying also in the comment section of this brand? Like, are they a loved brand? But I think, definitely the main thing is, do our brands align? Because
Mm.
people will be able to see if there's a disconnect. And I also won't be able to promote something if there's a disconnect.
Yeah.
So there has to be an immediate, like, yes, this makes sense. I love what you guys do. So that's a big one. And then, of course, when it comes to the money, and that all comes with your how long you've been doing this. It all comes with like how much you can offer. So I'm always open to negotiations. I do have my set rates, but if there's a way that we can come together and it makes sense, I'm always open to that kind of thing.
Mm. Mm. So, have you ever refused to do a promo deal?
Yes, I have.
Mm.
So I have refused to do a promo deal before, and that's just because I didn't feel like our brands were a match.
Yeah.
And also I have, for example, what some brands do, if people watching this don't know, is they send through PR packages to influencers and celebrities and that kind of thing. And essentially we are expected to do is unbox it on our Instagram and
Yeah.
share with our followers, what this brand is about, and what the new products are. So some brands, a few brands that I've worked with will send me something and they're like, if you like it, please do post, and there's no obligation.
Yeah.
But just yesterday, actually, I got a brand who, they DM me. They were like, oh, we love you and everything. What are your sizes? We want to send you some stuff.
Mm.
So I said to them, I was like, oh, that's amazing. But I was transparent with them and I said, if you do send me something, I'm just confirming that, I will only post about this if I like it,
Yeah.
and, also when I am able to, because I do have a lot of other paid partnerships, which, I need to create that content. So, and also just with my standard of work, I'll never just take a quick picture and post it because,
Yeah. Yeah.
I need to. I think through everything I put out, and I spend a lot of time creating mood boards and all of that, just so that, when I'm creating the content, it's worth my time and
Mm.
it actually comes out how I want it to come out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they are some, and so I just said to them, they responded to me and they said, oh well, we've sent to a few other people and they were all happy to post for free. And I said, I'm happy to post for free. However, I will be posting for free in my own time and only
Yeah.
if I like it.
Yes.
Because you guys, obviously aren't wanting to do a partnership. So,
Mm.
yeah, sometimes you have to say no. I mean, you also can't be promoting every brand.
Yeah.
You need to look at, like, what are you trying to sell? What are you trying to put out there? If you're
Yeah.
working with every brand, people aren't going to trust you. So
Exactly.
those are things that you learn over time.
And I think, Bianca, I must say that I think it really takes you knowing yourself, and understanding who you are as a person. And I really admire the fact that, you're able to say, no, actually, you know what, this is not what I stand for, and this is not what I
Yeah.
value, and this is not in line with my principles. I think that's really admirable. So diving into work ethic, right? Let's talk about work ethic, right? So you 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 are obviously somebody who is quite busy, and I think, you obviously have to have some level of motivation to do the work that you do, not just to do the work that you do, but to do it at the quality that you do it at, right? Let's talk a little bit about work ethic. How did you, right, learn your work ethic, or was it just a case of, actually, you know what, I was born and, I just worked hard. Like, it's just,
Um,
I want to talk about that sort of point, um, where you realized, actually, to be a success in life, I probably need to get a grasp of this thing called work ethic. Talk to me a little bit about that. How did you learn that?
yeah, I mean, now that you asked that, I'm thinking about it, and it started in high school.
Mm.
So what happened was I was in grade 9, and I was like, that's goody two shoes, like that
Yeah,
type of student, like never in trouble.
yeah,
And
I
I don't
can
know if
really.
I've ever shared
Yeah.
this story, but I got into a bit of trouble at school.
Mm.
It was myself, two other girls, and we basically, oh my gosh, so there was this, like, yeah, it was a gym room, and I
Mm.
think we stole like one. I don't know why I think there was a school event or something, and there was leftover brutal fruit
Mm.
um, in the gym, and
Yeah.
we're walking, whatever. And so each of us took one little bottle of brutal fruit, right? Which, I mean, think about it now, it's like so ridiculous. I mean,
Yeah.
really. So what happened is, yeah, we each took a brutal fruit,
Yeah.
and but now the one of the girls took a picture of, like, all the bottles in the gym, and
Mm.
each of us holding our brutal fruit, like, look at we just took, and she posted it on Facebook. And
Uh,
so, oh, it was just so bad. What do you call this? Prefects, on
yeah.
our backs immediately. It was a whole thing. And I
Mm.
had to do 100 hours of community service to basically, just rectify this thing and learn my lesson. So, it was a big thing. We were in the principal's office, and I'd never gotten into trouble, and I was like,
Mm.
no, like, this is not me. But what we had to do as part of this whole process was we had to write down 3 things we wanted to achieve by the time we matriculated.
Interesting.
And
Yeah.
no one else saw it but
Mm.
our principal. So we wrote it on a piece of paper and we gave it to our principal. So that was her way of keeping us accountable.
Okay.
And so ever since that day, something just went like this switch just happened. And I'd always been very sporty, like into netball, athletics. Sport was like my life in school. But
Okay.
I was always like A team and whatever. But that was just like natural talent. I wasn't like really getting in there.
Him.
And so yeah, so basically, I said one of the things on the list was that I want to be first team netball captain, and that I want to represent Gauteng.
Yeah.
I want to get my provincial rep full colors, and I want to get full colors for netball. So
Yeah.
I set this thing, right? And I just worked really, really, really hard. And it wasn't easy at all. Hey, I mean, imagine this, grade 9. I'm 14 years old because my birthday is in December. So I was still 14. Waking
Mm.
up at 4 a.m. My dad would drop me at the gym, 4 a.m., train for an hour, come back to school, go through school, and then in the evenings I'll train again because I was like, I am making the provincial team and I want to be in the first team and I want to be captain. So it was
Mm.
grade 9 until grade 12, and basically I reached all those goals. So I became the best player in the entire school by the time I left.
Mm.
My name was up on the board.
Yeah.
I became netball captain. I represented Gauteng. I was first team. So that's kind of actually where it started. And there was, I think that helped me with my work ethic. That taught me about hard work because it
Mm.
wasn't easy for me. I had a lot of coaches, just being difficult, being like hard on me, just like, no, you can't achieve this, and
Yeah.
we dropping you from A team to B team. Getting dropped from A to B team is it's
Tough.
rough, especially when you've always been in the A team. And
Yeah.
I always had a point to prove. I was like, no, I'm achieving this. You guys, I have these goals. I told the principal, imagine leaving the school and I haven't achieved this stuff. And also because of the fact that, it's a blessing and a curse. But, growing up, I was always a people pleaser and I always wanted to just do right and keep my word. So I was also trying to fulfill that.
Yeah.
And so I put a lot of pressure on myself, but I think that ignited just the whole thing about work ethic, because till this day I still carry all the lessons that I learned from grade 9 up until matric, and I
Yeah.
apply them in things like right now as a
Yeah.
27-year-old. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
I think that's a really powerful story, um, because that to me talks about somebody who, who got into trouble, right?
Yeah.
But decided then and there that actually, you know what, there's something that I want to achieve in my life, and this is where I want to go. Now, what I want to know is, and not necessarily particularly about that sort of period in your life, but even now, how important do you think your environment is to your work ethic? So the people that you surround yourself with, how important have you found that in your journey through life? Talk to me about a little bit about that relationship between the people that you surrounded yourself with and your work ethic.
Yeah, huge. It's very important.
Mm.
And that's just because you will be influenced by the people who are around you, whether you like it or not. You
Mm.
can be, the strongest person or whatever, but you will always be influenced by who you are around, by
Yes.
the things you're listening to, by the space that you're in, by the things you watch. They will
Mm.
influence you. And so I think, just having my own fair share of just coming out of wanting to be a people pleaser, that helped me to just be comfortable with myself and with my decisions.
Mm.
But it took a long time, because you could say from like maybe 8 years old, I
Mm.
was always that person, like I couldn't say no. I was yes, yes, yes to everything. I didn't
Mm.
want to do it, but I'm like, yeah, let's go. But I don't want to do it. Um, all the way up until maybe about the age of 20.
Mm.
I think my early 20s were that's when I really was trying to figure out like who I am, and
Yeah.
just being comfortable with the fact that if I don't like something, it's okay to say, that's not really for me. And
Mm.
if my friend or whoever's around me doesn't understand that, then they aren't for me. And so yeah, just being very picky with who I give my time to, who I share my dreams with as well, because whoa, there's not everyone out there is happy for you.
Yeah.
I've had a number of friends, ex-friends now, who,
mm,
you know, we're just very jealous. And
mm.
I say that in that way because it is what it is. It's a fact.
Yeah,
But I think for me, it affected me more because I'm the type of person to give all the
yeah,
time, and always getting taken advantage of. And so, yeah, right now I surround myself with literally a handful of people. Like, I can count them on one hand.
yeah,
My family, a few friends, a number of friends, like maybe like, yeah, three. I would say three, and my boyfriend. And
yeah,
those are the people who I share my dreams with, who can keep me accountable for certain things,
mm,
that I want to achieve. I'll just share like maybe a fitness goal or something that I want to achieve in my career. I'll share it with the people closest to me because I know that they have my best interests at heart.
yeah,
And yeah, sometimes it's really tough having to end a friendship, but I've ended maybe two friendships
mm,
because they were sucking the life out of me, and I was so depleted, and I was doing things that I wouldn't normally do, because I was trying to keep up with this friendship, but I was afraid to say no in the friendship. I was afraid to speak my mind. It was also difficult to share how I felt about certain things or maybe achievements even in my career with my friends who
yeah,
were around me at that time, because they were jealous and they wouldn't actually support me,
yeah.
which is insane. So, yeah, I think it's really important who you surround yourself with. You have to be picky, and sometimes it's really difficult to let go of someone. But if they're bringing you down, it's really necessary
Mm.
sometimes just to say,
Actually,
it's
you
gonna
know
have
what?
to end.
And that's such a difficult thing to do, right? Um, I can really understand in the story that you tell that actually, you know what, this is not an easy decision to make.
At all.
But you
It
do
will
have to,
keep you up at night. I was
yeah,
up at night, like
like, is this really,
anxiety. I got
this
like
really
just
it?
going crazy.
Also, that to me, and I've just been listening to you sort of as you described yourself and your sort of growth. You might not realize this, but you've what you basically described as your own growth as well, right? As someone who always used to say yes to everything, and now actually says, okay, hold on, pick and choose.
Very.
Actually, this is not good for me. This is even realizing that is a massive step, but acting on it is like, wow.
Another story.
Like,
Yeah.
it's another story. It's realizing to have that first, okay, hold on, what is actually good for me? Because to know what's good for you, you got to know what you actually want, right, from
Yeah.
life and what you're actually aiming for at the moment. But to act on it, I think takes incredible courage. So that I think is extremely, I think, impactful and really inspirational for anybody who is listening to this. Tell me, so what would you say to somebody who says to you, okay, Bianca, I have no idea. My work ethic is terrible, right? And they say to you, look, I don't know how to learn this thing called work ethic. What would you say to somebody like that? Where do they start? How did they, get to a place where they start to actually improve their work ethic? Where do you think that they should start?
Yeah. I think it all starts with being honest with yourself and where you're at in your
Mm,
life. We all want to achieve certain things, whether you have good work ethic or not, whether you're motivated or not. We all want to achieve something. We all want to travel somewhere or get a
yeah,
different job, or we all have it deep down inside. And it all starts with being honest with yourself and where you're
mm,
at, and being able to be like, okay, Bianca, like, I'm at a place where, I'm being mediocre right now, and it is what it is. I'm procrastinating. All those things. So you got to write down a couple of things and just be honest with yourself, like where I'm at now and where I want to be.
yeah,
And well, that's what I did, and also what I do every now and again when I hit a slump. I'm like, okay, why am I feeling so stagnant? Okay, cool. Where am I at? Have I achieved what I set out to achieve? Yes or no? If it's a no, let's actually work on that.
yeah,
And then from there, I would definitely suggest you have to take control of your mind, because your mind is so, oh my gosh, it can run and run and run forever. Your mind can make you do something, your mind can make you not do something. And
Mm,
so, yeah, being honest with yourself, very important. And start off small things. You know,
yeah.
don't now set out to, I don't know, like something that maybe will need about a year of work. Just
Mm,
something small that you can actually change right now, whether it's going to bed an hour earlier, whether it is reducing your alcohol intake, whether
mm,
it is starting to journal more, whether it's doing 10 minutes of exercise a day.
yeah.
Start off small, because it's all a ripple effect. So this work ethic thing, it's made up of every day doing small things, small
Mm,
simple things that creates work ethic. It's not
yeah.
one big thing where you can be like work ethic, you know. So we need to just
Yeah.
remember that, and also be patient with yourself, because it is a long process. There are days where you're just like, to hell with all of this, I
Mm,
hate life. And you have to also be able to go through those days, and just remember that that's part of the journey. And
mm,
if you can overcome that mental thing of, oh, I don't want to work out right now, but I'm going to do it anyway,
yeah.
small things like that, they will get you to that point where you're able to actually build a good work ethic.
That's really powerful. Um, I think you've probably given the person, 10 different pieces of advice that I think will change their life around. I think,
Yeah, hopefully.
and I hope that, anybody who is listening to this at this point or watching this at this point, that you've got a notebook out, or you've, take
Yes.
you got the notes app on your phone or whatever, rolling. I hope that you got those keywords going. So that's really powerful. So we talked a little bit about the impact of friendships on your work ethic. What I want to also understand is, has mentorship played a role, if any, in the development of your work ethic in general?
You know what? I would have to say my mentors have been my parents.
Mm,
Um, However, I do recommend getting a mentor. I do recommend having someone who can give you that advice. I think for me, because of the fact that my dad is type A personality, he's also an entrepreneur. He's a go-getter. He's like,
yeah,
even if he's so sick, he's going to that meeting. He's closing
yeah,
that deal. He's that type of person. And so he's definitely been able to mentor me from that aspect. And then my mom, I get all my creativity from her. So, she's always encouraging me. We have so many long conversations about all the ideas that I have. And, having that mentorship really it motivates you.
mm,
And again, also keeps you accountable. So I would definitely suggest getting a mentor, but also, I have had my fair share of 2 years ago, I had a mentor that wasn't a right fit, and it wasn't a good situation. And
mm,
so sometimes you also need to just see and evaluate. Don't jump to the first person who's maybe older than you, who
yeah,
doesn't actually know anything about what they're talking about. So have patience. I think it's important to have patience with finding a mentor, but a mentor is crucial. A mentor is very, very crucial, because you don't know everything, and you need to learn from people who've maybe gone through a similar thing, or who are just wiser because they've spent more time on earth, they've seen more.
mm,
So having you don't have to put all that weight on your shoulders alone. you know
mm, mm. No, thank you for that. That's really, I think that's a really meaningful point. Especially about the part, that you also do have to sort of select your mentors, carefully, and that you spoke about, the sort of traits that you're getting from your parents, who are also your mentors as well. And I think it's incredibly important to realize, what sort of traits you would seek in that
yes.
mentorship as well. I want to touch on meditation a little bit. And tell me a little bit about, what role does meditation play in your work ethic, as well. Tell me about a little bit about the techniques that you do as well. We had a question about that as well. Yeah, and generally your sort of type of routine as well.
Well, of course, now, we're hearing a lot about, actually for the last number of years, meditation, meditation,
Yeah.
meditation. And it can sometimes seem like this big, scary thing, like, where do I even begin? Which it is. In the beginning, you do
Mm,
feel like that. But how I developed is I started with 5 minutes. There's so many like apps. There's an app called Headspace.
Yes, yeah.
There's free meditations on YouTube. So I would actually do a 5 minute morning meditation on YouTube, and it's literally just you're silent and you're breathing and you're actually trying to I wouldn't say gain control over your thoughts, because your thoughts are always going to come and go, but it's just trying to find that moment of stillness, trying to find that moment of focus. And when you do drift away, being able to remind yourself like, hey, wait, we're doing a thing here. And so I do transcendental meditation. I think I'm saying, I don't know if I'm saying it right or wrong. Oh my gosh. Anyways, say in the comments, guys, if you know what I'm talking about. But anyways,
yeah,
that one. I do that one. And then I don't know if you're familiar with Eckhart Tolle, but I do his meditation as well. He's great. He's just like, his voice will make you just feel like everything is okay. And then sometimes I'll just sit in silence, and I'll just take a couple of deep breaths in and out, and I'll try and do that for about 10 minutes. But I'd say my average meditation time is 15 minutes. And for me, it's all about like being in the present moment, being in the now, not like when a thought comes from, let's say, like something that makes me anxious, like, oh, I'm expecting something that's going to happen in the future, or I'm thinking about something that happened in the past while meditating, just bringing myself back and being like, wait, we're trying to be in the present moment. So that's the main thing of what it is for me, and how it's helped me in my career, work ethic, everything, is that it's helped me to be more like in the present moment. So let's say, I'll give you an example. If I'm going to an audition, nerves kick in. It's normal. Nerves will always be there, and you're like, all over the place. But because I've trained my mind to be in the present moment, I'm able to let those like feelings of fear, or like me being scared or whatever, I'm able to be in the moment and actually just execute my role, deliver my lines, and really be like involved in whatever character I'm trying to portray. Or for example, if I'm driving, a lot of the time we can drive and your mind just drifts, but because I've been meditating so much, I'm able to, I know where I'm going. And there's many times where I've taken a wrong off ramp, and that's just because I wasn't in the present moment. So I try and practice that all the time, even if I'm washing dishes, even if I'm doing laundry, whatever I'm doing, I try and be like, okay, like right now I'm drinking this glass of water and we are having a conversation. I'm not thinking about what I have to do after this or what I did before this, or so it's helped me to ease my anxiety, because I am a very anxious person. I'm always thinking of the what ifs. I'm very paranoid all the time. So it helps me to stay focused. And that's also how I'm able to, like keep my work ethic. For example, if I'm exercising and it's feeling really tough and the set is like hard, I'm able to, I'm able to finish the set, because my mind is like, no, we in this moment, we are doing abs now and we have to finish it. So yeah, it's life changing. It can seem daunting. So to anyone who's hearing about meditation and is terrified, start off with 5 minutes. Find something on YouTube, and also you'll find what works for you. Sometimes there's guided meditations where you can hear what they're saying and you follow along, or there's just music, or there's nothing, it's just silence. So you'll find the one which works for you. But it's changed my life, like in so many ways.
I think that's really powerful. So how long have you been doing it? I'm actually quite curious.
I've been meditating for 2 years. So I started actively, like properly, in 2018.
Okay. That's really powerful, I think. And so let's talk a little bit about, the pain of discipline versus the pain of regret.
Yes.
I suppose you want us to try and link this back to perhaps that story in high school as well, when you had to sort of make a choice. Tell me a little bit about this principle. And ultimately, I think in life we do have to make choices, about what we want. But tell me a little bit about it.
So I learned about this from Jim Ron. I think he's passed away now,
Yes.
but he's an incredible motivational speaker
Mm.
and so much stuff on YouTube. Like go and type in Jim Ron or write it down somewhere so you don't forget. But I came across this one video, and he was basically saying that in life you have to choose one pain because there'll always be pain, but you have to choose which pain it's going to be. Is it going to be the pain of regret or the pain of discipline? Because it is painful. It's painful to wake up at 5. It's painful to go work out. It's painful. It's painful and it's tiring.
Yeah.
Um, you know, but are you going to choose that, or are you going to rather have the pain of when you're, I don't know, or let's say, speak for myself, when I'm 60 or 70, that pain of like, I could have, you
Mm.
know,
Mm.
I should have. There's
Mm.
just no way. So I made that choice. I'm like, I'd rather go through this pain of like, having a strict schedule, doing what I need to do. Because it is painful in the moment, but the reward is so amazing.
Mm.
But I don't want to float through life and get to a point where I'm super old and I regret everything. I
Yeah.
regret, not enjoying my youth. I regret not taking chances. So I'm a chancer. I'm out there. I'm doing everything, and I'm like, oh, if I fail, I fail. It's totally fine. We move on, and it's not even a failure because I've done it, so I can learn from that and apply it in a different instance and actually do better.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's very important to because you have to just make the choice. It is what it is. So if you're sitting somewhere, you're feeling very stagnant, and you're not feeling good about yourself,
Mm.
you're gonna have to make a choice.
Yeah.
Because we don't just wake up to a place where we're successful and things are great. And no, we actually have to work really hard to get there, and it's really tough, and it requires discipline. And it's painful, but the reward is just so amazing. So it's worth it.
What you're alluding to, I think, in such a strong fashion is the intentionality, right? So so the fact that you're actually intentional about, this is, I know it's going to be hard, right? But actually, I would much rather do this than regret, right, to have not done it in the first place. And that
Exactly.
can be something big, right? That can be a massive thing that you decide, but it can also be, the 30-minute gym session in the morning, versus not, right? Which completely alters the rest of your day. And I think, we obviously in winter in Joburg at the moment, so, going like gymming of any sort is a bit of a hard sort of sell. I know this morning when I was gymming in this morning, I was like, yeah, this is tough,
Yeah,
right?
it's
But
real.
I I know that for the rest of the day, right, I feel good because actually I made that choice. But I think it really does take an intentionality about what you want to do, and that can go from as very small as, did you go to the 30-minute gym session on Saturday morning, right? Or did you decide to pursue this degree or this venture, or did you decide to start this business, right? It can range in size in terms of what you're actually intentionally looking to do. I want to marry this with learning how to believe in yourself, right? And I think what my question to you would be is, how has that been for you, right? How did you learn to believe in yourself? If And that's not necessarily always going to be 100%, right? I know for myself, I don't 100% believe in myself, right? There are times where it's like, okay, am I sure, right, that this is gonna work, right? But
Yeah.
how has that journey been? What are the sort of key milestones would you say in that journey of how you, as Bianca, has learned to believe in yourself?
A lot of introspection, a lot of spending time with myself, a lot of journaling, and those are things that I will always revisit. So every few weeks or months, I will come back and I'll journal a bit more. I will, where am I at? Let me see where I'm at.
Mm.
But what I also do is I make sure that every time I achieve something, I write it down. And that's because, sometimes I even forget how much I've done. I'm like, I've been in this industry for almost 10 years. Like, when someone asks me what I've done, who have I worked with, I'm like, I don't know, but I've
Oh,
I've
yeah.
done so much. I've traveled. It's
Yeah.
just insane. And so I make sure that I write down my achievements as soon as they happen, and I look back every like twice a year. So in June-ish, I'll look and be like, oh, okay, I did that. And then December, I'll look again. And that helps me. It reminds me that, listen, like, you achieved that. And also, because I journal, I can go back to that time, let's say February, when I achieved A, B, C, and D. I go back to my journal because I always put dates whenever I journal. And I'm able to be like, oh, wow, I was in that mental space, but I achieved that. Oh,
Yeah.
wow, I was feeling like this, but I achieved that. Oh, wow, I was going through this, but I achieved that. And so that helps me to believe in myself even more, because I'm like, you can do this. If you can do these things when you're dealing with so much, like, imagine what you can do now when you're in a much better mental space.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's definitely helped me to believe in myself, and because I'm able to show myself that it's possible. Anything is possible. It's easy to say, but sometimes, like I said, we do forget. So we have to also celebrate the small wins as well. And with someone like me who's a type A personality, we always going and going and going and going, and sometimes we forget to stop and be like, no, well done for that, and take it in and actually enjoy the moment. We're just thinking about the next project. So that stuff I've also had to work on. And when I'm in the moment and really enjoying it, I'm able to see that, like, I can actually achieve anything that I set my mind to.
Yeah. That's really powerful. Yeah, that's really powerful. So tell me about, sort of one or two sort of periods in your life where this sort of belief in yourself was tested, and how you overcame that.
No, not last year. Yes, last year, actually. Last year around February, I was in a terrible mental space. Very, very, very depressed. I'd gone through a really rough 3 to 4 months prior. I'd never had acne in my life. I had raging acne because of the stress and everything. So that was like a blow to me, because I'm like, how am I going to shoot? I'm like hiding my face. I was literally like this for a couple of months. I was like, no one
Mm,
must see my face,
mm,
because there's like acne everywhere. Self-confidence was low. Self-esteem was low. But like I said earlier in our conversation, I reach these times, like, where I just wake up and I'm like, okay, enough. And what are we gonna do? Let's get back to the drawing board. I don't know how it happens, but it
mm,
literally just happens in that way. So I went through a good like 6 to 8 months of floating around and just feeling really terrible. I can't go into detail about what happened, but I had a very terrible work experience, and it really tested everything. I felt like I was worthless. I felt like I couldn't achieve anything. I felt like what I had achieved wasn't good enough. Anything you can think of, it was there on that list. And I woke up one day and I was like, you know what? I was actually reading old journal entries. That's what I was doing. I
yeah.
read some old journal entries, and it just sparked a bit of motivation again. And I woke up and I said, you know what? It's going to be hard. It's going to be long, but you're going to rebuild and you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
And I started going for therapy. I was active again in my meditation. I started doing yoga, which I'd never done before, and it was life changing,
Mm,
because they kind of like yoga also mixes meditation in there. So it was really amazing. Um, and I started journaling more heavily, and just also being easy on myself, because I'm always go, 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 go all the time. I was like, you know what, maybe you just need to rest a little bit. Maybe you just need to take some time out and just be. And that's what I did. And yeah, I'd say it took maybe like 6-ish months. So by the middle of the year, I was back on my feet. And yeah, it's humbling, and it's also like, those times of being, you have to just be honest with yourself about where you're at, about how you're feeling. If you mask feelings or realities, it will take so much longer for you to heal and to get to a better place or to get back on your feet. You have to just be honest with where you are and where you're at, and not be ashamed of it, because it's normal. And the strength will come in that period where you're rebuilding. That's where you'll find your strength. But hiding away from like the elephant in the room, it's just going to suffocate you.
yeah. Yeah, and I think those are some really, significant steps that you took, and really powerful lessons that you shared as well. Bianca, to finish off, so what would you say to somebody who doesn't believe in themselves, um, somebody who's trying to learn that belief, similarly, to the sort of work ethic debate and question. What would you say to somebody who says that actually I don't believe that I'm capable of achieving what I want to achieve? Where do they start? What is the sort of practical starting point?
Honestly, I think they need to first figure out what do they want to do? What is your
Mm,
passion? Like, what do you, that's going to be your driving force. You know what I mean? Like, what do you want to do? What do you love? What makes you happy? What do you want to do for the rest of your life? Whatever it is, take that time and don't just have a 5 minutes like, oh, I want to do this, I want to be a pilot. No, really think about it. You
yeah.
know, what am I trying to say? What do I want to leave behind when I'm not on earth anymore? And once you've established that, it's so much easier to then find drive, to find motivation, to find self-belief, because you'll then be able to, you're working towards something. But if you're just floating through life, um, trying a bit of this, trying a bit of that, not fully committing to something, you will forever feel like, oh, I'm not good enough. Oh, I don't know if I can do it. Oh, because you're not focused. So you have to actually find out what you love, and that will come through trying different things. Of course, you can try. I've tried so many different things. I've had a promo agency. I've had my own modeling agency. I've
Mm,
done photography full time. I've done content creation full time. I've done makeup artistry full time. I've done styling full. I've done so many different things, and I was able to then find like, okay, this is what I want to do. And so you need to have a driving force so that you can then set a game plan,
yeah.
and then you'll be able to do small things, tick off small things, and that's actually what will create that belief in yourself, because it's not just going to land on you like, oh, I believe in myself now. No, the way that you get the self-belief is through ticking off small things on your goals list. At least for me, when
Yeah.
I say, oh, I'm going to do this in 6 months time, and I do it, I'm like, whoa, okay, I can do it. And that actually helps you to then, establish this like trust with yourself,
Mm,
and that's how you'll get the self-belief. But you also have to do a bit of work. You can't just imagine that it's going to happen. It doesn't happen overnight. So much work goes into it.
mm.
So we need to, it's easy to look on the outside, and see people achieving things, but what do you think it took to get there? And that when you real with that, you're like, oh, okay, well, this is actually hard work. Okay, cool, what are we going to do? And that's why you have to have a game plan and a driving force.
Yeah, and I think that's when obviously then the work ethic also kicks in as well, and sort of techniques like meditation as well bring it all together. Bianca, I want to thank you for sharing some
Pleasure.
were really really significant points with us on the platform today. Firstly, I want to thank you for accepting the invitation to come onto the
Of
platform
course.
so much.
Yes, of
Uh,
course, I'm so
yes,
excited.
while you were talking, I was like, okay, I'd actually love to speak to her about this and that and that. So I would really
Yes, awesome.
love if we could do, a version two again in the future,
Yeah,
and, dive into a little bit deeper into some things, and, share a little bit about, what you may have learned at that point as well in life. Um, but I want to thank you for coming onto the show, for,
of
giving us a
course.
of insight into what it's like being a model, what it's like being a content creator, an influencer, an entrepreneur, um, as well as marrying that with the principles that you have used to get there in terms of work ethic, in terms of self belief, in terms of
Yeah.
meditation, in terms of intentionality, right? So the intentionality to pursue your success. So thank you so much. That's pretty
It's
much,
such a
I think,
pleasure.
that encapsulates everything. Is that just thank you for coming onto the show.
Awesome. It's such a pleasure. Thanks for having me. I love conversations like this. So, always happy to. I'm keen for the next one. Just let me know when.
Awesome.
Yeah, love everything you're doing. And I'm going to keep watching all the other episodes as well.
Thank you so much, Bianca. I hope that you stay safe. Good luck with everything that you're pursuing.
Thank
I hope that you continue inspiring people, that you continue impacting people as well. The only thing that I'll say to you to finish off is don't forget the power of your story. I think it
Oh,
really
thank
is
you.
powerful. So please keep doing what you're doing. And until we meet again on the show, take care and goodbye.
Awesome. You too. Thank you so much for having me.